Welcome to the CoinSec podcast. On this week's episode, we talk about IBM winning a patent for a blockchain-based security system. Studies show 54% of crypto exchanges have vulnerabilities. Monero fixed the burning bug. And we chat about Supermicro's potentially malicious microchip. All that and more on episode number 32 of the CoinSec podcast.
Want to secure your assets.
We can crack the wallet.
Oh, we've done it before.
We've got rigs, character adversary, attribution mode.
With our private keys combined.
Building some kind of blockchain super weapon.
There's just a number of vulnerabilities that are in the smart contracts.
Math. It's probably secure.
They all secretly mine cryptocurrency.
What coin can I trust? Which one is cryptographically secure?
Don't roll your own crypto. CoinSec podcast. CoinSec podcast is a podcast about cryptocurrency and blockchain technology with a focus on securing them. Don't let the hum of our dual-purpose crypto miners / password crackers in the background disrupt your listening pleasure. Today, I'm your host, Bo Bullock, and I have with me Steve Porosh. What's up, Steve?
Howdy, howdy.
Welcome to the show.
Good to be here as always.
And I also have Ralph May. What's up, Ralph?
What is up? I'm glad to be here as well.
And I believe,
super excited.
I believe we're going to have Mike Felch here fairly shortly, so he might drop in on us. We'll see.
Drop in like a ninja.
Yeah, dude. If we get all four of us on the same show within a week's time, that's crazy. Two shows in a week, where all four of us. That'd be like I don't know, like we need to go like to Vegas or something.
Yeah, I'm gonna go get scratch off tickets.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy the lotto tickets.
Yeah, that's gonna win.
So what's been going on, guys? Anything cool?
Nothing cool. Just been tracking, like we were talking about earlier, this crazy possibility of China putting microchips in some conductor boards, backdooring the supply chain.
So this is the
hoping they don't do that with our crypto miners and our ASICs.
Oh no, they would never do that. This is the Supermicro article, correct?
Yeah. Not to put the news before the news, but
no, that's fine. No, let's jump right into it. This is good stuff.
Crawled with today.
Yeah, no. So from what I've seen, which hasn't been much, I've seen some kind of very harsh tweets at both, I guess, Amazon and Apple. Is that because I guess they both utilize Supermicro, and was there some allegation in this article that they were compromised?
Yeah. So the article we're speaking of is a Bloomberg article posted today, October 4th, and that the Supermicro chips or boards are manufactured in China, and that a small microchip was implanted in some of these boards, and that they were targeting these servers that do processing of video streams and stuff like that, and both Amazon and Apple use them. So do a lot of people, but
and when you say small,
there was a.
I was gonna say, and when you say small, like this thing is like smaller than the guy's like tip of his finger, like
it's like a tip of a pencil or a.
That's what they said.
It's insane.
Yeah, it's amazing technology, actually.
Yeah, I mean it's a supply chain attack. I think we've talked about this before.
A little bit.
Right? I mean, it's no surprise. I mean, I believe it. I mean, there's some, speculation, excuse me, about, whether this is true or not, because Amazon, AWS came out and said, there's all flat rate lies. Apple is sternly denying it as well. But.
So what was the accusation exactly against AWS?
Okay, so Amazon, all right, I mean, without like summing up the whole article, Amazon bought some servers, Amazon was potentially going to by a company who was utilizing a lot of Supermicro servers to do video compression.
Okay.
Long story short, when they went to acquire that company.
Here's the question: was it middle out compression?
What's up? I don't know.
Silicon Valley. Never mind. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I got you. No, they went to buy the company. They were going to do the due diligence, and they did some security audits, third-party companies, and that's supposedly when this came up with the Supermicro boards. Okay. When they sent them the servers, because essentially what they were doing, the company was selling these like hardware devices that were supposed to do video compression, kind of like as an appliance. But obviously in that appliance were motherboards made by Supermicro, And that's when they supposedly in this article discovered this, and Amazon knew about it. And then the scandalous accusation is that Amazon knew and then still decided to purchase the company because of whatever reason they had. And then also Apple was looking to expand data centers around the same time, and they also were buying Supermicro stuff, and supposedly, I guess they canceled an order unrelated to this. I don't know. There's a bunch of kind of like accusations that are going along here about, these major companies knowing about it, but kind of the other meat of the article is the intelligence community is known about this and been kind of following China's,
I love this quote in here. So I recognize the name as I was kind of scrolling through the article. Joe Grand, he's the guy who built the JTagulator. Like, he's one of the most well-known hardware hackers out there. This quote in here is great. It says, "Having a well-done nation-state level hardware implant surface would be like witnessing a unicorn jumping over a rainbow. Hardware is just so far off the radar, it's almost treated like black magic."
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of incentive here. I mean, you can make something very small. It's a supply chain attack. I mean, the only way to fix that is, I don't know, not buy from a country who might want to spy on you, or build it in country. I mean, we've kind of touched on this too before. It's not that easy of a fix, right? I think that's kind of the big point.
Yeah, we talked about it regarding the ledger before.
Yep. Especially when we're talking about coins and, monetary value on some hardware system, but they were using this for gaining access to just these major companies. So
this would be the thing to do if you were going to try to hack like an exchange, I would assume, right? Like, you try to get some sort of hardware level implant into their facility somehow, like however they're storing.
I mean, it's really the long con. I mean, who knows what the bribe money and other stuff like that. I mean, supposedly in the article they mentioned that China was either doing one of two things. Or a combination, bribes and or political pressure, right? Saying that they were going to shut down the plant, so on and so forth, to incentivize, these people to implant these chips. So, yeah.
Yeah, but you're kind of not real. That's not really a targeted attack if you're going unless they know exactly where each shipment's going and are only embedding in certain shipments.
Yeah, I mean that's a great point. But I think that what they were doing is put them in every board that we possibly can, right? And then evaluate whether that's a target that we'd be interested in, right?
Sure.
Put them in every device and then hopefully you hit the right one. Because it's kind of hard from a supply chain to be like, oh, well, we know this shipment's going to this person or so on and so forth. I mean, like, they probably tried to do stuff like that, but I mean, obviously there's no guarantees, right? There's going to be some collateral damage whenever you do hardware, stuff like that.
I wonder how many of these Supermicro servers you can find in dumpsters around the country today as they're pulling them out of racks and throwing them away.
They're in my rack right now behind me. I have 5 of them. 5 Supermicro servers. I'm pwned, yeah.
Have you looked for the little chip on it?
No, I haven't.
You should totally go look.
When I looked at the article, I saw the board that was on there, and I knew the make and model and everything. I was like, this looks like a Supermicro board. I'm like, oh, son of a bitch. These are all the servers that I have. So, yeah, there's probably on there. Whatever. I mean, damn it.
Have you noticed any odd packets leaving those servers recently?
I know, right? I know. I mean, like...
you've got so much on my network. You got the perfect little test lab there now.
I know.
You can validate it for us.
Yeah. My question is whether it's coming off the IPMI interface or it's whether it's coming off just any interface. I mean, all kinds of stuff like that. Like, it's hard to tell. And then, I mean, assuming that if the intelligence community knows about this, they know where those devices are going, and that's actually where they got the 30 companies. Supposedly, this based on the article. That were major companies that were hacked is because they knew they seized either the resources or the domains or however it was that's communicating. So, and then they were able to tell what other companies were making out. So maybe these chips aren't still active anymore. Maybe not in the U.S. I'm not sure.
Man, you just can't trust anything these days. Like, all right, so if you're a crypto investor, cryptocurrency user, I mean, you have a few options, right? You have your paper wallets, you have your just digital like hot wallets, and then you've got hardware wallets. Which one do you trust? I mean,
right, and that also plays along into buying hardware wallets that are on eBay or Craigslist or something like that have been in somebody else's hands, and as soon as you load crypto on them, they could be siphoned out. That's just always be careful of where and what you're buying.
All my servers are from eBay, so I mean, I'm totally owned. Like, I've got no hope here.
I mean, all three of us use the unhackable Bitfi wallet, right?
Yeah, no, I ordered 3 of them, and I actually hooked them together to make it 3 times
like
unhackable.
a trinity, like the holy unhackable trinity. With their powers combined, they summon John McAfee
and his escort of bodyguards. I don't know. I saw some tweet with that. It was silly.
He's running for president again.
Really?
Yeah. Apparently, he's got a campaign manager already. And all that.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. Cool. All right, moving on.
Yep.
So let's talk about some of the prices for the week. It's been pretty boring, I think. It's been basically a sideways stroll over the past week. We are down a little bit in overall market cap, just a couple $1 billion. That's all. We're down to 219 billion from last week. Bitcoin is at 65.92, which is down from 66.28. So not a huge loss there. I think $30. Not bad. Ethereum is down to 224 from 232. Ripple is down to 53 cents from 58 cents. So I don't know. I was trying to see if there's anything interesting going on price wise. I found an article talking about how everything's just kind of got this sideways stroll now and how long that's going to last. And they were trying to kind of figure out if the amount of social media hits and how popular cryptocurrency is currently to price correlations or whatever. And I think they basically said there's really no way to know. Just buy low, sell high, that kind of thing.
I think the wave's coming. The price is going to go up out of the roof. Everyone buy now.
I think so too, to be honest.
I mean, I don't know. I do honestly believe that it will come back. Whatever that there'll be another gold rush. The question is, did you buy before or did you buy during?
Mm-hmm. Or is it all a bubble and are we all going to lose a lot of money? Just kidding.
All of my money, everything I have. I'm going to be on the streets peddling for, I was going to say Bitcoin, but no, it won't be it'll be worthless. Giving it away.
Alrighty. So on to security news for the week. The first story for this week is Monero fixes a major burning bug flaw, preventing mass devaluation. So apparently the developers of Monero, they call it the burning bug. And I guess they had to get rid of that in order to prevent some issue. I'm trying to kind of find here's the TLDR.
Yeah, it looks like some obscure Reddit post kind of kicked that one off. Somebody
Really?
asked, if I spend Monero from a specific stealth address and then somebody sends more to it, are the funds inaccessible as the key image has already been used?
Interesting. Yeah, so the bug itself presents an interesting problem created by the use of a stealth wallet or the use of stealth wallet addresses. And let's see. Wow, totally should have read this article a little bit more before, huh? Okay, so an attacker exploiting the weakness could, in theory, send 1,000 XMR to the same stealth address, each one forged so they have the same unique key image. Normally, the blockchain would warn about the 999 duplicate keys, but in this case, it wouldn't notice this because of the way transactions are handled with stealth addresses. Oh, interesting. Okay. So would the problem there be that he's getting rid of, destroying 1,000 or destroying 999? Because
that's the way it reads to me. If you go down a little further too, basically you could burn the funds of an organization's wallet while merely losing network transaction fees. So it's not like the attacker is going to gain anything out of it. But you could damage an exchange.
Okay. Interesting. So I guess, I'm trying to think how, because it mentions how that could potentially manipulate or devalue the price, right? And I guess that'd come from getting rid of the coin.
Yeah, I mean, this is like a DOS on value, right? I mean, the devaluation, and then it, as comes back, it'd be interesting.
Of course.
Yeah. Well, luckily they fixed it.
Yeah, and it looks like, of course, I went to my friendly Electronium GitHub post, and they fixed it along with it. So,
oh wow.
In the past, they hadn't fixed bugs that were previously known in the Monero chain, and it looks like they learned their lesson. So.
Sweet. Well, good for Electronium.
It's the burning bug. So hopefully other Monero-based projects are doing the same.
Nice.
And if you're mining or holding Monero-based projects, I would you should do your due diligence and look to make sure that they fix this problem too.
Cool. All right. Next story is about a piece of malware called roaming Mantis, which apparently there is an iOS crypto mining version that is spreading via a malicious content delivery system.
It's not iOS.
Yeah.
It's not possible.
I know. So from what I could tell, it looks like it's mainly based off of just like a web page with like JavaScript. Like, so I don't think it's like from an app specifically, from what I can tell.
Well, they use DNS hijacking to in vulnerable routers to spread malicious Android applications of roaming Mantis. So they spoof legitimate. So what I'm guessing, maybe if somebody goes to download an app, it goes and downloads their malicious app instead. So they have to be kind of in the middle of that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's for Android, right? So the iOS side of things, though, right? So the criminals previously targeted iOS devices using an Apple phishing site to steal credentials. However, they changed the HTML source code of the malicious landing page, which it looks like it's just pointing to CoinHive. And then they show a screenshot of like where they say the code above shows that they disabled redirection to the fake Apple portal, which was they're stealing credentials, and added a code with a web mining script. So basically,
right, and they're still redirecting people's routers to these pages, from what I understand.
Interesting.
Yeah. So instead of delivering Android malware via an app, they're just directing them to this page, this spoofed page.
So they're like hijacking like routers.
Yeah, it says a threat actor logs into the router using default ID and password and change legitimate DNS settings to rogue DNS settings to where the router's control panel is accessible over the internet.
Jeez.
It'll be interesting.
It's a simple little JavaScript for CoinHive.
It'll be interesting to see when WebAssembly starts taking off further too. Then you're really going to crunch that CPU. It'll be one of those things where you'll be like, oh, well, it's going real slow to like, my device is just churning through stuff. So.
Yeah, and it looks like we talked about one last week where the iOS targeters were throttling the CPU usage. In this case, they're not. So there's a little picture of the iOS device like immediately spiking to 90% CPU usage.
They're just YOLOing it.
Yep.
Burning in your pocket.
Hitting hard, hitting fast.
I thought I saw something in here about them targeting. Yeah, so filtering Japanese devices. So they noticed that criminals responded to a number of articles and research activities coming from Japan. The new feature was added in the landing page to filter out Japanese environment. So it says they wanted to slow infections of Japanese targets. That's interesting. Wow. Okay. So the way they did it is it looks like based off of like the user agent, because it says navigator. Oh wait, no, browser language starts with JA. So I guess Japanese. Weird. So they saw like articles coming from Japan and decided to just filter out on that. That seems odd. Like, I guess they thought they were getting caught or something.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Well, we can move on from that. Next story. Okay, this one I thought we might have some interesting opinions on this. So, IBM wins a patent for a blockchain-based security system. So, this, we have no idea where the EDR, AV, behavioral analysis space is going to go in 10 years. But I think IBM is trying to figure that out. So from what I could tell from this very, very basic article about this patent is that IBM thinks that they're going to solve that problem of preventing like logs and that kind of stuff from being manipulated based off of having like blockchain on hosts on a network. So like if an alert kicked off like on a host, it would actually do like consensus with the other hosts and validate that was like a true log or something.
Yeah, so it's also, I'm actually reading the patent as well. There's a link on this article. You're right, this article is pretty vague and short. But if you actually read the patent, there's a claim that a method for determining security breaches within the network, the method comprising connectivity of plurality of monitors in a chain configuration where the plurality of monitors include a primary monitor and a backup monitor, wherein the primary monitor is connected to the backup monitor using a network address. And they all have temporary logs and permanent logs. So it's just like backups of backups. So in like a chain fashion, so that maybe you can't tamper with the logs, like you said. It's going to be validated.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
So
like I was
tamper-proof. Yeah.
I was just on an engagement recently where they were running Carbon Black, and I don't know if this is true for all Carbon Black instances, but this specific customer had Carbon Black set up where the Carbon Black panel had a Solar console, like SOLR, Solar. But that was like an unauthenticated console on the Carbon Black system where you can actually like modify the logs. Like it's got like query language built into like this console. And I was thinking like you could totally like, change them and stuff, like that could be really bad if like an attacker found that and wanted to hide in a network. They could like totally modify whatever logs that are there.
Sure, yeah, filter yourself out, basically.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's kind of the picture I get from this is that like if you had, multiple hosts on a network that are all running your agent or whatever, and they're constantly doing some sort of consensus between one another, that could be interesting. I don't know. I mean, but at the same time, like, I don't know. It sounds kind
bloated.
Of yeah.
It's a big database.
A lot of overhead. Yeah.
I mean, they're just trying to get consensus with the data that they get. So they're saying, hey, you saw that? I saw that too. It looks the same to me. Like we're both in consensus, right? So maybe to quantitate how accurate that information is and then, be able to get better alerts. I mean, yeah, blockchain, put it in there. Let's sell that.
Yeah. So this is straight from the article. The sensors allow consensus by passing the same information to more than one monitor. When monitors are validating information, if data for an event or transaction does not match, then one monitor may have been compromised. In such an event, this may alert the monitor security program of inconsistent data, which in turn warns the system administrators that there is an issue. Using blockchain technology to highlight irregularities in this way would therefore create a less vulnerable network, according to IBM.
So we got monitors watching the monitors and learning about the monitors.
I guess.
Yeah.
But I mean, all right, so think about it. I mean, seriously, like, I know it sounds like it's such like one of those, like, we're going to see this at Black Hat, like on a big banner, like, we use blockchain to solve network security problems, Like, it's totally going to be that.
It's happening.
But I mean, where does the EDR space go from here? Like where do they go? I mean, right now they're doing a pretty good job of alerting on a lot of things that we do as pen testers and attackers. But are they really validating that the data is accurate that's coming from their agents?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And I think EDR's foot up right now too is that, for a while as attackers, we didn't have, at first we had systems that were alerting on just too much information, right? And now they're getting a little bit more precise, which is kind of where they needed to be in the first place, as opposed to like trying to implement all of your logging data with your security product. Anyways, but yeah, so I mean, they're a new hurdle for us, and as we tune our attacks, right, it's going to be harder for them as well. So I mean, it's a cat and mouse. We're just in the side right now for those products, right?
And for those, I realize that the three of us are pen testers, and people who are listening to this are probably like, "What the hell is EDR?" So for those listening, that's endpoint detection and response. So this is like kind of the next step after antivirus. Like, so antivirus has been around forever. Everyone knows antivirus. So you've got it built in by default now, Windows Defender, and Windows Defender is actually pretty badass. Compared
it does have some detections that are like EDR-like.
Yeah.
Right.
But there's been this kind of emergence of EDR technologies over the last 5 years now. That's kind of been around.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, go ahead, finish it off.
Well, I was just going to say, like, it's supposed to be a bit more than just antivirus. So, for example, like it might alert on you running commands that a typical user might not run, like things like the net command or ipconfig. What are some other things, Steve, like that you've seen on some assessments you've been on, like EDR catching?
Well, a good thing for EDRs to have is like basically capturing images of the host, or remotely grabbing forensics, remotely grabbing memory images and stuff like that. Things you can't do with a normal antivirus solution. Mm-hmm. That's what the response part comes into EDRs. The ability for defenders to actually respond to an intrusion through that tool instead of just alert and block.
Yeah, and most are not like just detecting like a single file based off of like a hash, right? Like they're actually detecting like what it's doing. Like this user downloaded this PDF or this Word document, and it launched PowerShell when they ran this macro. That's
right. Yeah, a little more of the behavioral stuff, parent-child process relations, things like that. So
they also dig in memory as well, not entirely. And actually, I've noticed in my testing that having both antivirus and EDR is actually a smart idea. I've seen antivirus pick up things from a static file that EDR was just like, well, it's probably okay. Or, wanted to see how it ran before it just, tore it up or, deleted it. So I've seen it go both ways. The only problem with EDR in memory, though, is it gets very CPU intensive. So it has to make decisions based off of rules and policies, right? This isn't AI, okay? So it doesn't have that kind of thought process to it. But and those are kind of the weaknesses. Also, EDR's big thing that it's tried, and this is from pretty much all the products, is that they do not want anyone except for customers to even be able to use the product, right? Mm-hmm. So they hide the product, they mask it. The magic sauce is their sauce, right? So I think that not all of their success, because I think that this is good for the industry, but I think some of the success with the EDR products is because of, they're closed sourcing it in the sense that they don't want anyone else to know it's there. So they're kind of getting the element of surprise. I think as the years go on, it'll be harder to, keep that surprise going, right?
Mm-hmm. So. All right. Cool. So the next story we got is there was a study done by ICOrating.com that says that 54% of the crypto exchanges out there have security vulnerabilities. 54% of them.
How do they get that number?
Yeah, it seems pretty arbitrary.
Yeah. So I don't think they actually did, active pen testing against them. They basically had a list of a couple things that they thought were things that facilitate potential vulnerabilities, like lack of two-factor, registering without an actual email check.
Oh my God, they're not using HSTS.
Yeah,
you get bad ratings.
So there was, all right, so let's see. So 41% of the exchanges that they tested allow for passwords less than 8 characters. Now, is that really a vulnerability? I mean, that's bad for the users, but is it really a vulnerability for the exchange? I don't know. Like I think most of these are kind of more like against the user specifically, and I guess in terms of maybe like which one would be more secure for a user would best be actually how to like title this. I don't know, this article.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's kind of the registration, the password length, complexity, whether they meet all of their requirements and stuff like that. So yeah, I think it is a little more focused on the user.
And these days, two-factor is not really the end-all be-all of security. So I mean, how highly they rate that?
Right. I mean, well, even with that, like only 3% of the exchanges they looked at had a lack of two-factor.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually, I'm actually kind of surprised about that.
Yeah, it's a pretty low number.
Well, two-factor is a lot easier to implement nowadays than it used to be.
Sure.
There's a lot of products now that you can do it like almost free. So,
who I did not see in this list? I did not see Binance in this list. So they've got Coinbase at the top as the number one exchange in terms of security. And then Kraken is right behind it, and then BitMEX. And I do not see Binance in this list. I guess they didn't test them.
Where's BitConnect?
They are currently being seized of all their assets.
Yeah, I mean, well, I guess it's really hard from an outsider to gauge the security from like a code stance and all the other fun stuff, right? So or like other business practices and other stuff. But I mean, come on, a lot of these exchanges, except for like the real big ones, they're like, yeah, I'm gonna start exchange, make a bunch of money off fees. They're not like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make the most secure platform to trade on, right? Different goals, right? Especially the places that just kind of pop up. I'm not saying
it might be a more interesting. It might be a more interesting, like I guess, assessment that we could probably do on this, like this kind of level, is do just like basic recon against most of these and just like say like, okay, let's look at the attack surface of these exchanges. Let's like take Coinbase and see how many domains can we find? How many of those domains have, random weird ports that are listening, is like RDP open on something, Sure. But look through all the exchanges and do that, and then provide a list and be like, these might be the ones that are more prone to being attacked.
Right, based on actual attack service, not
sure
like user surface.
Yeah. I mean, you could, but then you're doing just like a bunch of free like initial pen test.
Sure. But you know what? That would be a post that would end up on an article somewhere on a probably a site that would be, I don't know, out there.
Yeah, no, I guess that's true. But I mean, you could definitely look up from the outside and be, the only problem is when you find something crazy, then you're like, well, you need to report that, so. Yeah. Oh.
All right. The last security story I have is this one that talks about how Bitcoin is being linked to a covert Russian intelligence activity based off of a U.S. indictment.
Of course, it's the Russians.
Yeah, so I think the gist of this, I'm pretty sure the gist of the story is that they used Bitcoin to set up their infrastructure, like that's really all it is, like this entire thing.
Yeah, follow the money.
Yeah, which is actually kind of interesting, I guess, like if they were able to track it based off Bitcoin, but I doubt it. I bet they tracked it or traced it via some other mechanism.
I mean, it was probably human for sure, as opposed to like financial intel. But obviously those correlate. So, and then the blockchain being public, after you start drawing person to transaction, and then then you can really follow it around.
Oh yeah, check us out. The conspirators mined their own Bitcoin as part of an effort to generate funds. So they didn't even get Bitcoin from an exchange. Like they just straight up mined it and then used that. That's kind of interesting, like that's, you think about that. All right. So like, let's think about this for a second, right? Like, so let's say that I want to generate, I don't know, $10,000 worth of money I can use that's fairly untraceable. What if I just go buy like, $50,000 worth of Bitcoin miners and just solo mine for a week? You know, would I hit a block? You know, with $50,000 worth of Bitcoin miners?
And though you can track, the generation of the Bitcoin, I mean, you can't really track where it's generated, except maybe the exchange if you're mining to a pool.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
But if you're solo mining, it's just coming straight to you, right?
Mining. And you could definitely solo mine anonymously if you proxy all your stuff enough.
Yeah. I mean, then you got to sell those miners. Why you could just do like laundering with miners, I guess, maybe. And just...
Laundry coin.
Laundry coin.
Laundry coin. Not elite. Totally above bar.
But I mean, theoretically, right? Like it should be possible, right? Like just to solo mine and have like no trace of where it came from, right?
But why not just, take some Bitcoin and then go convert it to one of those more like privacy related coins and do a couple more conversions?
Yeah, no, I mean, hypothetically, I'm saying here, like, I mean, so that takes more work, right? Like there's still the potential of an exchange, like seeing that transaction, tracing your, IP, that kind of stuff. I mean, yes, you could use proxies, all that stuff, right? But if you just solo mine, you're getting the coin direct from the source. Mm-hmm. And is there really any like I don't know, like tracing mechanism on the blockchain for solo mining, like where the blocks actually go to, like for who gets awarded them, like in terms of IP and location?
I'm not sure.
So I
don't think so. I mean, the wallet address, but I mean that's pseudo anonymous,
right? I mean, but it's something random that just got set up. I mean, how would you find out who owns that address? Like if they're solo mining, I mean, there's no exchange to go to or pool. There's no pool to go to say where is this payout being sent to IP wise.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
It's the Bitcoin network that's sending you that coin, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what laundry coin's going to do.
Yeah.
So what happens is when you mine, it's really easy to mine, and then you get a bunch of these coins, and then you can trade them for other coins, and then it's laundry coin. It's like an easy way to get coins without being detected that you're getting coins.
What'd you paste in here, Steve? What is this? Secured event. Oh, okay, sorry. This is an old. This is from an earlier story. Sorry.
Oh yeah.
The patent. Okay. Well, I guess that's all I kind of wanted to say about that. All right.
It's doable unless you set up a bunch of nodes that tracked when generations, and you were able to. I don't know. I think there's some way, kind of like how people did with Tor exit nodes before, where you spin up a whole bunch of them, and then you can kind of track as users come in and out of your exit nodes and triangulate where they're at. You might be able to do the same thing if you were able to throw up a bunch of core nodes and then start tracking people.
That's an interesting idea.
Maybe
that would be a fun research project, actually.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, yeah, that'd be really cool, because then you could just trace where the payouts are going to and just keep like a log of that, potentially, right?
Mm-hmm. What IP addresses maybe those are starting to talk back and forth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Alrighty, a little bit of non-security news. So I saw this post. This Ripple app was launched in Japan that actually doesn't even use like Ripple on the underside of it. I started reading through this. I'm like, oh, cool, like this new blockchain app to transfer money. Like, and it talks about how it's like a real-time bank-to-bank money transfer, which is kind of cool. Like, all you need is I think the cell phone number of the person you're trying to pay. And there's no fees. Like, it's literally like just bank to bank, like transfers without any fees. And I was like, oh, cool. They must be using like Ripple on the other side. And like at the very bottom of the article, it says, while based on blockchain, Xcurrent does not by default utilize Ripple linked crypto token XRP. And I'm like, oh, so it's like not even using Ripple. Like, what the hell is it? It's just like a bank to bank transfer.
It's got blockchain in it, though.
Yeah.
Maybe one day. I don't know. Maybe that's where they're going with it.
Instead of calling banks, banks are just gonna be like, no, they're blockchain establishments now, and then nothing has changed in the back end. This is the new tech. So much better. I was like, but it's kind of like the same tech. Like, no, this has got blockchain in it.
Yeah, we talked about XRapid last week. So so there's XCurrent, which this one uses, which does not use XRP, and then there's XRapid, which apparently several different banks are using, or third-party payment solutions are using it, which does use XRP. So I don't know. And did you guys? So I threw an article in here. It's actually a fairly lengthy article regarding stable coins. Did you guys want to talk about that this week, or maybe should we save that for next week? Because it's a fairly lengthy article, and I definitely want to give the whole idea of stable coins its own I don't know, time, I guess, or we can just run through it.
Yeah, we should probably wait until we have Mike on too.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, so next,
I've actually got some stable coins.
You do?
Yeah, I got some BitUSD. You know,
that's the BitShares one, right?
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. We'll talk about that next week then. Well, I guess we can wrap it up unless you guys have anything else cool you want to chat about.
No, I'm waiting on Ralph's thorough review of his super micro boards.
It's going to be me with like a microscope and like a big light just looking at the board.
Yeah, there's an interesting little diagram on that article that kind of shows you where to look at for that. So
that's what I want. I want to be like, well, they're mostly over here. But they said it's so small that like, you know, it looks like a transistor on the board. You're going to be like, I don't know what this is. Like, you know, so... But maybe it'd be funner just to monitor network traffic and see if I start finding something suspicious. I can do that. Definitely.
How do you like make it do its thing though? You know, like is it like remotely controlled? Like it's got to have like a special domain that gets switched on and then it sort of starts beaconing out or something?
I don't know.
Maybe you just gotta like rub it the right way and then it turns on.
It gives you like a special on and off switch thing. I don't know.
Oh man, it went downhill quick.
Yeah.
Alrighty, well, I guess we can wrap it up. So make sure you join our Central Sec Slack channel and follow us on Twitter. We are at CoinSec Podcast on Twitter. I'm sad that Mike didn't make it. I totally thought he was going to make it this time.
Yeah, me too.
Next time. Hopefully next week you can make it. And actually, Steve, we got to get our guest on that you had mentioned. Maybe bringing on. So hopefully we can set that up maybe for next week.
Yep, we'll work on that. Might
cool.
help with our stablecoin discussion.
Yes, it would. That's exactly what I was thinking. That'd be awesome. And then keep an eye on coinsecpodcast.com for links to the show. Subscribe to the podcast on a favorite podcast app. And if you like the show, leave us a review. We would greatly appreciate it. As always, if you have any cool stories or guests you want to see on the show, send them our way, and we will check them out. All right, fellas. See you next week.
Peace.